You get a max, and you get a max, and you get a max. The Thunder continue to reward their title big three. Nikola Jokic won't sign an extension with the Nuggets this summer. Big deal? Not a big deal. Summer League is set to start in Vegas, but our local experts are actually just as intrigued by Vegas's over-under odds. Which team is too high? Which team is too low? Matt and Haize are here to tell you today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt, DeAndre Ayton said joining up with Luka Doncic in LA is, quote, like a video game, unquote. What video game will it be by season's end?
Assassin's Creed 3, where you keep trying to be stealth and you think it's going to be this complicated game and you're going to pull off all these great maneuvers, and then you wind up just having to hack your way through everything. That's going to be the Lakers. They're just going to have to hack their way through an awkward and probably pretty tough season to get to where they want to be at the end.
Oh, see, I thought you were saying that because someone was going to murder DeAndre Ayton for a lack of effort. But no, you went another way. Haize, same question for you from the Locked On Bulls podcast. We've got Haize. What video game will the Lakers be by season's end?
It's going to be a deep cut for some. Toe Jam and Earl. That's going to be the Lakers season.
Yeah.
Toe Jam and Earl.
Okay, just Toe Jam? Is that what you're just hitting the Toe Jam there?
No, Toe Jam and Earl. 1991. Go check it. Sega Genesis. Terrible game. Terrible team. How about that?
Oh, okay. I was trying to find the angle. I didn't know. Okay, well, not a terrible team, the defending champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they are trying to make sure they are not terrible for a very long time. Chet Holmgren has reportedly agreed to a max rookie extension with the OKC Thunder that could go as high as $250 million. It will start in the 26-27 season and will run through 2030-31. Holmgren joins Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who also signed a 4-year extension with the Thunder valued at $284 million. Matt, your reaction to the news?
Not surprising. They love the guy. They love Chet Holmgren. I think it's interesting that Chet gets done before Jalen Williams. That's interesting to me, that it's just oh yeah, we're definitely giving Chet the max. And then Jalen Williams is still kind of out there. Now I still think Jalen probably winds up at the max. Looking at some of the numbers, if they try this, which I do not think that they should or will be able to, you can theoretically pull this off. The cap goes up by so much over the next 2 years that when Shai's extension kicks in and he's making $60 million a year in 2028, you can get him at 60, Chet at 45, J-Dub at 45, and you're still under the first apron. So you're still able to kind of fill out a roster if you're not looking to have a lot of guys. But what made this Thunder team so complete, guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, guys like Chet or like Alex Caruso, those are the type of guys that if they go down this road of having the 3 megastars, that's where they're going to struggle. And with their market size, I just have a lot of questions about how much tax Bennett is going to be willing to go for, even for a championship contending team. He's going to be well, we didn't pay that much 2 years ago. Why do we got to pay it now? I continue to believe that the end result of this is going to be the breakup of that trio, that you can have 2, not 3. That's my belief, Haize, is that with the current CBA, you can't have 3 stars making over $40 million.
Yeah, that's what common thought would tell you, and you're not wrong for that thought at all. But I think that the whole way that the OKC Thunder have even built this team hasn't been the typical, and it really comes down to how much success that they have over the next few years. I know they're going to have to make a decision on extending Jalen or not here within the next couple of months, but if this team wins 2, 3 titles, it's going to be hard to break that team apart. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it becomes easier at that point because hey, we got 3. We can do it if we have to revamp. But the thing about the Thunder and the spot they're in right now is that they have so much really good young talent with draft picks still coming in. Is that as long as they draft right and develop, they could be set for the future, whether they do have to let one of these guys go in the future or not. You think about it, like, for example, with Hartenstein, Thomas Sorber may be ready to go in 2 years, so where now you have somebody on the rookie scale contract replacing what Hartenstein was just giving you for $25 million. So we'll see what happens there. I like to think they're going to keep these three guys together, but as we know, all it takes is one injury. All it takes is one disappointing season. All it takes is something crazy to happen, and it goes from maybe looking like an easy luxury tax pay to a wait a second, and that's what we've seen happen many times before.
So yeah, Shams Charania of ESPN reporting that there is some forward momentum towards an extension for Jalen Williams as well. We will wait to see what the news is on that. Is Chet Holmgren of the big three, if they max all three, is he the biggest risk? He missed around 50 games over the past 2 seasons, a little bit of an up and down postseason. Haize, is this the biggest risk of the big three?
I would say, yeah. I mean, in fairness, I think he is probably the biggest risk. I think Jalen and Shai have both shown themselves to be able to stay healthy for the most part outside of just kind of what you expect a player to miss. So Chet is a risk there. And when I saw fully guaranteed, I'm not going to lie, I looked at that and said, is that really fully guaranteed? Not even an option in even in the last year? But, hey, they feel confident. They love Chet. We'll see. But Chet is definitely the biggest risk there.
I think so. I think probably just from the health standpoint, but I don't know how you approach this. You can't just not be giving guys money because you think that they are going to get hurt. You cannot do that. There's too many guys that were totally healthy their rookie years and then got hurt later, or guys that were hurt in their rookie years and then were totally fine later. You just can't do that. Your medical team is going to tell you whether or not there's significant risks for them long term. You evaluate that and you go forward. And if you're willing to take that risk on a talent like that, which clearly OKC is, they believe in Chet Holmgren, and they should. I think it's worth it because you also need you're going to need that kind of defensive presence. You're not always going to have this type of defense like they had this year. You're going to need an anchor, and he is one of the heaviest anchors you're going to find in the league.
Does this feel like Sam Presti and Klay Bennett betting on Sam Presti? They're like, hey, we're just going to get all of these deals locked up, and then it's really up to you to figure out all of the hoops and the gymnastics that you're going to have to do to continue to field competitive rosters over the next 3-4 seasons.
I mean, I don't know what the alternative is, right? It's like the alternative is like, well, we'll just let him go. You can't do that. You can't be like, we won a championship. We have these 3 great players. You try and keep them together. You try and work on him to be like, hey, are you sure you don't want to take less? No? Okay, fine. All right, here's the money. And that's how you go about it until such time as you can't do that anymore. My problem is that when we look at the CBA and we look at the history of just basketball and how guys usually are going to want their own team at some point, I continue to believe that this is not it. It's got a little bit of shelf life. It doesn't have forever. It's got a couple of years, and then we'll see the OKC Thunder break up the way we've seen all the others break up.
All right, Haize, let's look a little further into the future because this is just the rookie extension. Like he's, in several years, he'll be due another big extension theoretically. But what does he need to improve on between now and then, Chet Holmgren, in order to cash in again?
Health. And then I think also just still putting on a little bit more weight to kind of bang down low a little bit more. I think there are times where, his body is his body style, but like there are definitely times with kind of the more bigger centers that he still has problems with, even with how good defensively he is. I think that, and then of course the playoff performances. There are just too many times where Chet kind of disappeared, for lack of a better word, or maybe too strong of a word, in playoffs. But it was his first time, them going that deep, things like that. So I'm not gonna hold that against him too much. He'll learn it as they go, but I definitely think he has to be able to step up in some of the bigger moments as well and not disappear.
I mean, he is just finding himself, man.
Yeah.
It took Jaren Jackson legitimately 4 or 5 years for Jaren to be able to find his go-to moves offensively for him to be a consistent scorer. It used to drive me nuts with Jaren. I was like, what is your shot? Chet doesn't know that yet. Chet's still filling in gaps. He's going to develop all of that. We saw it in that series versus the Nuggets. He drove on Jokic and absolutely posterized him. We've seen him hit big 3-pointers. It's about just going through the consistency. It's about just sharpening those methods. But he's already so ahead of the curve defensively. It's going to open the door for all those things. Because I'll go ahead and make a bold prediction right now. Chet Holmgren's winning 2026 Defensive Player of the Year.
Wow, ooh, there you go. What do you think, Haize? Are you riding on that bandwagon?
Yeah, Chet has the potential to do that, like for sure. There's no doubt about it that Chet has that level of potential, and he can get there. And if he does, it's going to be very difficult not to pay him the crazy money going forward.
Yeah, I think that you bring up an interesting point there, Matt, that he's not fully developed. And I think that to me is an even bigger risk than the health piece because, and I'll attach Jalen Williams to this too, because as those two players develop and really find their own game, but Chet in particular, how does that continue to mesh with what they've been building there? Does it start to conflict and then, force the Thunder's hand? But again, to all of your points, what other choice do they have except to see this thing through, particularly after you win a title?
Well, I just think that those guys are going to reach a point where they have to make the decision of, can I reach the furthest limit of my career here or not?
Yeah.
Can I be everything I can be here? And you have to decide, maybe not, but I'd rather win championships. You can make that decision. Scottie Pippen could have been regarded as a much, 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 much better player if he'd left, but he wouldn't have won 6 titles. And that changes the perception of who Scottie was. I think Scottie could have been even more highly regarded in the all-time list because of how talented he was. But he chose to stay because of that partnership and he understood what he had there. I think the Thunder are going to face some of this same kind of question of, does Chet Holmgren? I think Chet Holmgren's great for here because it's just Shai's the guard and I'm the big and we'll just play it to the bone. J-Dub is the one I continue to be does he reach a point where he's look, I won, we won 2 titles here in 2 years, whatever. I think I could be more because there's not enough oxygen to go around for Chet's development, J-Dub's development, and Shai to be winning these MVPs at this level of usage. Something's going to have to give. That's just the reality. There's only so much that you can do. And maybe those guys just sacrifice and it all works out fine. But I think that's going to be a question that they're going to have to reckon with over the next couple of years.
It's super interesting and it will be fun to watch. But for now, Thunder fans, they just get to celebrate. They are just throwing money around and continuing to win regular season games. They've won a title. But that situation that you talk about, Matt, very familiar and probably will sting some Thunder fans of yore. All right, coming up on Locked On NBA, no question that Chet Holmgren's deal, a very big deal. But we've got a couple of other news items that are starting to trickle down. Are they a big deal or not? Nikola Jokic not signing an extension this summer for the Nuggets. Anthony Davis has a procedure. Will he be healthy for training camp? That's all ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Monarch Money. We just got done doing a segment all about managing your money or managing the Thunder money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you're saving up or planning something big, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch isn't just a budgeting app. It is a full financial command center, letting you track your accounts, your investments, your spending, and even plan for future goals, all in one clean, easy-to-use app. That means less time stressing over your money and more time making it work for you. And if you share finances with someone like I do, Monarch makes it easy to stay on the same page without those awkward spreadsheets or the missed bills. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. We are one of the most listened to podcasts on the Locked On Podcast Network, and we thank you for that. We're now on a mission to become the most watched show on the network. If you've been listening for a long time, please head over to youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Subscribe to the channel there. Even if you don't plan on watching, it helps the show, and turn those notifications on if you want to know when we go live. Free agency has calmed down, but there is still a lot of offseason news percolating out, and Matt and Haize are here to tell you and help you gauge which news items are a big deal and which are not. Let's start in Dallas. Anthony Davis had a procedure to repair a detached retina that he suffered during the season. Reports are that he should be healthy for training camp. Apparently, he suffered multiple hits to the face last season. Before we hear from Matt and Haize, let's get the local expert take from Locked On Mavs.
Weird. This seems weird to me. A detached retina can be as benign as some blurry vision and just some uncomfortability in your eye. It could be all the way up to blindness. There is a spectrum of what this could be in so many different ways. I reached out to Brian Suderer, who does the great YouTube channel. He's a sports medical doctor that we have on all the time, and he said, It just is. He said it is weird that it's happening now, that they're doing this procedure now. But he said it could just be a delayed diagnosis. They could not have known. It may not have been as serious, like that kind of stuff. It is a very strange thing. It's interesting. You want to wildly speculate and be like, well, that's why he's been struggling to shoot from three. It's like it struggled last season. But I think to me, what I took away from this is Anthony Davis did put it all out on the line last year. Like played through injuries, tried to come back early. Like it's admirable to see him do that for this franchise that he just got dropped into.
Haize, Anthony Davis, another injury. Big deal, not a big deal?
This is not as big of a deal as what I would make if it was like a lower body injury or something like that for Anthony Davis. I think he'll be fine. He'll get the surgery on the detached retina. Have time that he'll back up. He'll be back ready to go by training camp. If at the worst, he'll put on some goggles, which I automatically think putting on goggles on the NBA floor, it raises your block percentage up by 2%. So there you go. Take that.
Maybe a big deal because maybe he can make a jumper now. Would that be helpful for them? I guess. I mean, look, it's not like a big deal. We know that he's Anthony Davis. We know this. Like we just know this deal. And I don't blame AD for this because I just think that we do too much of this expectation of there's a middle ground between you are hurt and could play, and you are hurt and you can't play. Just because somebody else can play doesn't mean you can play. Like bodies are all different. So I try and be understanding of that, but it's always going to be something with AD. It's always going to be something with Anthony Davis. And if you don't think that, you just haven't been paying enough attention. There will always be something with Anthony Davis that causes a problem physically.
I wonder if what prevents him from wearing goggles is just the branding of the brow. Like he doesn't want to cover the brow, too much of a branding issue. When you just very quickly, Haize, when you think of wearing goggles on an NBA floor, who do you think of?
Ooh, Kareem
Abdul-Jabbar, Matt? That surprised me. That surprised me too.
Where's Grant? What are you doing, Chicago?
You don't understand how big of a Kareem fan I am. That's why.
Ooh, interesting.
Now, I actually think of Kurt Rambis and the inaugural year of the Charlotte Hornets. Kurt Rambis wearing the goggles. But that's because I'm an absolute Hornets sicko. All right, next big deal, not a big deal. Let's go to our Nuggets sicko, Matt Moore. Nikola Jokic won't sign an extension this summer with the Denver Nuggets, opting instead to delay those talks until next summer. Matt, big deal, not a big deal?
I hate that our Locked On brethren decided to do a whole Jokic rejects Nuggets thing. Because like everyone knows the deal here. It's just about the money. He gets more money by waiting. He gets like $30 million more by waiting a year. That's a lot of money. It's not a big deal now. It's a big deal when it becomes a big deal. Does it open the possibility of him leaving? Sure. Yeah, that can happen. If you think Nikola Jokic, who has rejected every notion of superstardom, if you think Nikola Jokic, who makes it seem like the idea of moving would just be an incredible hassle for him to have to deal with, if you think that Nikola Jokic, who has talked so much about the opportunity that the Nuggets have given him, and like that, a lot of players have done that and then left. But if you think that all that means that he's going to go, you're welcome to do it. This is a league where this happens consistently, and it's entirely possible. Right now, I don't have any reason to believe that Nikola Jokic is going to leave. I don't think Jokic is as frustrated with the front office and the team as everyone makes it out to be. I think that's fans saying that because everyone thinks that they should be better, because apparently if you're a great player, you need to win 3 championships in a row in an era where a lot of great players are playing and no one's winning 3 in a row. I personally do not think it's a big deal.
I don't think it's a big deal either. It's pretty straightforward. It's about the money. And in this league, this league, you get the most money possible that you can. Like that's all this is about. Like the NBA career, it takes one injury, you're one step away from things going left for you. So you take in, and with Jokic too, like his game is gonna age well. It's not based off athleticism. We can see Jokic stay at this level of play for until he's 35, 36 years old. So get in as much money as you can. To Matt's point, I don't think he's trying to leave Denver anytime soon. Of course, the talk is naturally going to come up. And it does leave the option. Let's say that it's going to be a big talk if for some reason Denver has a disappointing season this year. Everybody's going to come back. Oh, you remember he turned down the extension, but he'll sign there. It'll be fine. He'll lock in the money. Him and the Nuggets are going to be perfectly fine.
You did have Josh Kroenke say in one of these press conferences. The wrong person gets injured, and very quickly you're into that scenario that I never want to have to contemplate, and that's trading number 15. This just seems, I'm not saying it's a big deal either, but it does seem a lot of uncertainty around the entire situation, Matt.
Ben Tenzer came out the exact next night and said, yeah, this was way over and misinterpreted. We are not trading Nikola Jokic.
Of course not. But I'm saying that there's just a lot of like, you would much rather have the certainty that's happening in Oklahoma City right now, where it's just like, sign a guy, let's go.
It's just funny. I hear you, but Doug, we know how. Like, do you remember 2 years ago when we were like, what team would not want to trade places with the Celtics? They're locked in. They just won the title. Everything. This is how the NBA goes. So, like, plot twists are inevitable. And I do think it's possible that Jokic evolves to a point where he's like, yeah, I'm just kind of ready for something different. I don't really care if people are mad. I'm going to Chicago or because of all the Serbian fans there, or I'm going to LA to play with Luka, whatever. It's entirely possible. I'm not going to sit here and say that like Jokic would never do that. I will say that just from the biggest thing for me really is I do not think he wants to have to put up with the hassle of moving. I just think that sounds like a lot of work to him. And he's going to be like, I'm fine. I'll stay.
Haize, I didn't have this in our rundown, but I feel like you've got the pulse on the Chicago Bulls because you're the host of Locked On Bulls. The Bulls have not signed or done anything with Josh Giddy yet. Big deal, not a big deal?
Not a big deal yet. I think that they're waiting to another big name restricted free agent signs or they just come to agreement. I don't think it's a big deal yet. I think Josh Giddey's going to stay there. I don't see a scenario in which the Bulls don't at least sign him to a 3-year deal. May not be the full 5, but Josh Giddy be in the Chicago Bulls uniform next year.
All right. Well,
nothing with the Bulls is a big deal.
Go ahead, Matt.
Nothing with the Bulls is a big deal.
How can it be? You've got 9 or 10 very good players. You know, that's the way it goes. It's not a big deal. I don't know if this is a big deal or not, but the Chicago Bulls, according to FanDuel, 31.5 win total for their over-under. Haize gets an eye roll coming up on Locked On NBA. Maybe we'll find out why that eye roll. Is it too high, too low? We'll do both Eastern Conference, Western Conference over-unders. We'll hear from Locked On Bucks and Locked On Grizzlies. Hang around. Locked On NBA. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Our friends at FanDuel have NBA over-unders out today, and it always gives us a lot to talk about. It's been a turbulent offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks. No more Damian Lillard, but they still have Giannis for now, which according to FanDuel means 43.5 wins. How does that sit with the Locked On Bucks podcast? Let's hear from Justin and Camille.
My range is, look, if everything breaks right for this team, I could see them finishing 3rd in the Eastern Conference. Yeah. If it takes a little bit of time, if they have injuries, I could see them potentially pushing to get out of the play-in tournament. So 5th seems like the sweet spot, and I think that's where most of us kind of assumed it would be.
Yeah, I've been saying top 6 for sure is where I can pencil this team. I could definitely see it being as high as 3rd in the East. If things go terribly wrong, I could even see the Bucks being a play-in team. But more realistically, I think somewhere in that 4 or 5 range, which, as said, similar to how they finished last year, is where I think they'll be.
The Cleveland Cavaliers lead the way with 56.5, followed by the Knicks and the Magic, and then the Hawks and Pistons. Hawks at 46.5, Pistons at 44.5. Haize, what stands out to you in the East?
I mean, just how close everything is for the most part. Like, I think that nobody really knows what's going to happen in the East. You can have a team like the Bucks that can be 3rd, 4th in the East, or they can end up being 6th or 7th, depending on how things shakes out. You have a team like Philly with that as well. I think the most thing that does stand out to me is just that it really is not that much space and separation between most of the teams in the Eastern Conference. I would not be surprised if we are kind of shocked by the top 4 teams when it's all said and done.
So I do a lot of work on win totals over at Action Network. And one of the things that's been historically true is you want to go, if they are above 50, you want to lean towards unders. There's exceptions. I think the Cavs are a clear over at 55.5. You want to go over on the bottom teams because it's just like the teams that you expect to be truly terrible. Oftentimes you're like, oh, they weren't that bad. So it will not surprise you, Doug, that my biggest takeaway is, why are the Wizards 20.5? That's such disrespect. That's terrible. That is so, it's not disrespectful. It's accurate, but I still love the over there. 20.5 gives us so much room. They could be a horrible team at 25 wins, Doug, and still go over. That's my favorite absolute win total in the Eastern Conference.
Wizards are easy over this season.
Easy over at 20.5, unless they trade everyone and take their faces off, which is entirely possible. But still, the Hornets are the one I kind of have a hard time with, though, here, Doug, at 24.5, where I'm like, they got a lot better. Like, I still have them going under because I had them power rated so bad last year, and I don't know how to like stabilize that to them actually playing guys and trying to win games. The roster's better, like no doubt. But I think, to me, if you look at the Eastern Conference, the interesting question is these type of teams. Do we see a truncation? Because you just usually, like, we've seen this model over the last couple of years where it's like you have these elite teams. Look at it last year, right? In the West, it was like Thunder, Nuggets, Wolves, all 57 wins or more. And then, like, in the East, this year you had Celtics and Cavs at the top, and then like the Knicks in the 50s, and then a little bit of differential. Are we going to see just like a shrinking where everybody, like the max is going to be like 52? And that if that happens in the East, then the bottom is going to be higher. That to me is kind of the more interesting thing, because this kind of presumes the opposite, which is we're still going to have there's no real super high teams outside Cleveland in the East, but all these East bottom teams are still really low. And both of those things can't really be true.
The Boston Celtics at 43.5, according to FanDuel. Milwaukee Bucks at 43.5, as mentioned by the clip. And then Philadelphia 76ers also at 43.5. Haize, most likely to overachieve that number.
Give me the teams again.
You got Celtics, Bucks, 76ers, all with interesting
76ers.
issues. 76ers. You like the health?
76ers. I'm really in on the 76ers this season. I think that this is going to be the year, not to say that they're going to win the title or anything, but I think that this team has enough firepower to be good, even if Joel Embiid is not fully healthy. I think they're going to go over.
Matt?
That Sixers number is just the books throwing a dart at it, because they're basically like, they're either going to have 30 wins or they're going to have 50 wins. And there's no way for us to project. So they wind up in the middle on the power rating at 43.5. Like they're giving conservative estimates of improved health without giving them full health. They're doing all these projections and you wind up in the middle. It's honestly your better approach, by the way, if you're looking at this at FanDuel, is you should look at alternates for the over of the Sixers either way, less than 30, more than 45, 48. Because that to me is more likely where it's going to be. I have Bucks way over, Doug. I did all the work. Like I gave him a major downgrade for Dame, and I've still got him way over. I think people forget how good they were at the end of the regular season. I don't know that this is a playoff squad that I trust because of Doc Rivers again, but I do think that they're probably way better than I think this number projects. I like the Bucks over a lot here.
As mentioned by the Locked On Bucks podcast later in that episode, it has been a very long time since that team has won 40 or less games. So I think taking it over, not a bad idea there. Let's move to the Western Conference. The Grizzlies, Memphis Grizzlies, land at 40.5, which puts them on the precipice, because they play in the West, of missing the postseason entirely. Let's go to Joe Mullinax of Locked On Grizzlies with his take.
40.5 feels low. It's saying that Desmond Bane is worth 7-ish games. And while Desmond Bane is amazing, don't get me wrong, I love Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is not going to be replaced. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. But Jalen Wells. But Ty Jerome. Once all of these transactions and signings and all those things are done, can those guys get the Grizzlies closer to 48 wins than 40 wins? Absolutely.
Matt, I know you pay close attention to the Grizz. Are you as confident that they can hit this over as Joe Mullinax? And what are some other teams to keep an eye on here?
Yeah, I'm definitely going over on Grizz. A lot of this is just, you kind of got to factor, you have to figure out some sort of way to establish how much each player is going to be worth in wins. And there's no real way to justify Dez being that big of a differential between KCP, Ty Jerome, and, we'll see. I think Cole Anthony's probably going to get bought out. I don't know that they're not going to be like a juggernaut, but I definitely think that this team, look, Ja had a bad year. What if Ja has a better year? Jalen Wells is going to get better. Zach Edey is going to get better. They drafted Cedric Coward. That's a good help. They have depth. They have good systems. I am a little bit worried about Tomas Asalo. I'm not sold yet on him as coach. but the overall talent there is too high, I think, and they have too much of a history of winning games for this number to be this low. This is an overreaction. I like the over.
Haize.
I like the over here. I like the over here too. I think they're going to be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I like, even though they moved on from Bane, I like the players that they brought in there. I think Cedric Howard is literally perfect for that team and what they need there, and looking to replace Bane as well as KCP. I think he's going to be really good. So I think I take the over easily. They're going to be a really good team in the West next year. I'm not saying top 4, but they'll be a really good team in the West.
The other one I really like is the Spurs. I just think I'm all in on San Antonio. They didn't make any of these big moves, so they're sliding under the radar. Numbers 43.5, full season of Wemby, better development. Castle gets better. They add all these guys. Yes, the CP3 thing is gonna be a bummer that they lose him. But if we just look at the internal development, adding Dylan Harper, the other guys get a little bit better. Their intention to win, I just feel like the Spurs are going to be better than 43.5 wins. I think this is a solid 45 to 48 win team.
West, very interesting. A lot more to talk about with these over-unders, but we're out of time for this episode. But let's put a pin in this. Let's keep talking about this tomorrow because Rockets at 54.5, Nuggets 53.5, the Lakers at 48.5, just a game above the Clippers. I want to get Matt and Haize's take on all of that. So maybe we talk about that and Summer League get started tomorrow. Get a few of your thoughts on that as well. But that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On NBA. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Make your second listen Locked On NBA Game Night. It's every Summer League game every night, and it's on this feed on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Be kind to each other. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.